War, DC's latest, finest book, and it's amazing. I really think this is an impressive genre book. DC Finest series has been just great. This one, War, the Big Five arrive. Well, you've got loads and loads, I mean loads of stories, all from 1957, 612, 13 odd pages, lots of pages, $39.99. I paid £20 for it in the UK or thereabouts. And this is just an amazing book. You can see table of contents. You've just got some of the best. You've got Russ Heath, you've got Joe Kubert, and many, many others as well, including here. And you can see table of contents. This is from 1957, but not just 1957. This is from January to, I think, about April. That's it, January to April. So you've probably got another 2 books just for 1957. So please, DC, get a move on. We need to get through these books. I mean, hopefully they'll do a 1956 and a 1955 and earlier as well. But you can see the story range just page after page. Obviously, some of these are only like 4 or 5 pages, some, but they're really good stories. Just because they're 4 or 5, they tell a story. They often feature, say, one guy and sort of learning, obviously, becoming obviously a soldier. He's got various things where you've got a helmet, and that's the start point of the story where he obviously used the helmet and then he sort of develops the helmet. Helmet, of course, don't want to spoil the story. You can guess quite a few of the endings, but I think they're just great. A whole range of stories. Mainly, obviously, they're war stories, all set in the Second World War. I don't think there's anything particularly going into like anything earlier. So there's no stories sort of like obviously the First World War. I might be wrong on that, but certainly I think they're just absolutely great. The artwork is superb. Restoration, just quality. Like, so this one, again, you got this young lad again with obviously this dog. That's it. That's all the story's about. You've got ones where you've got obviously a very basic story. Again, you've got just one man against obviously the Nazi there. And you've got here Battle Star for a tree. And you've got lots of great stories within obviously one issue. And I don't know how many actual issues are included in this, but you've got just page after page of very colourful battle line, a whole range of things. Now, they're never going to be stories that you think, you know what, these are epic, powerful stories that match, obviously, some of the great novels. But I still think that they tell a really good story in basically 5 or 6 pages. Some maybe slightly longer than others. You've got things like here, Fighting Forces. And I will include the list, obviously, of all the various stories that are included in the video somewhere. But let's go for it. You've got to see this one, lovely diving story. Again, a single person. Quite a few of them are. But there's some stories where you've got a group of people, easy company, etc. And you've got here Battle Mirror. Some of the artwork is fairly basic, sometimes really good. Then you've got Gene Colan, got some very, just generally overall. This, I love these as well. Now, there was a series of these Black Hawk ones. I thought they were going to do them as an independent sort of set. I thought they were going to be a sort of set because they've got, obviously, Sergeant Rock is going to come out. But this one, you've got Black Hawk, Killer Shark, and many of sort of like got some like science fiction. There's a science fiction feel. You've got like one where they become giants. It's like, obviously, Giant Man. It's Marvel Comics before Marvel Comics. I mean, in many ways, that must be one of the early sort of Giant Man characters. I don't know of many. Maybe there were other stories where people became absolutely huge. Obviously, people became small. You had Atom. But there's not many stories with people becoming super big. But still, maybe I'm wrong on that one. But you've got, so great, superb artwork with Black Hawk. I really love these stories. And that's obviously a team. Black Hawk's team there. And you've got All American Men of War, I should say. And you've got, again, some very, obviously, brilliant artwork here. Excellent. Sometimes it's 2 people, sometimes, but there's a lot of singular people, person stories, GI combat. And now I think some of these actually come from the Quality Comics, obviously Black Hawks did. Now, whether these ones, by this point, they obviously were DC at this point, 1957. But again, you've got this very wonderful story here, obviously, where he's a young lad, and you obviously got him there later on. And this follows through all the various things as he obviously uses something that he had in the past, but didn't think much of it. But then, of course, becomes very significant later on in this, obviously, conflict. And you've got page after page, the Rock Sergeant. There's obviously there, Rock being mentioned there. Obviously, No Rest for a Raider. And just not particularly many stories where you could say there's a continuation of characters, particularly. There may be. I don't. Certainly when I've been looking for, I love this one where this guy sort of learns to do things upside down, which is just brilliant. Absolutely great little story. But you've got lots of obviously athletics ones there, and again you've got another Black Hawk. It's page after page, and you've got this one in desert. Lots of desert ones. Quite surprising how many desert stories there were. So that's quite good. You can't beat a desert story. And you got there, obviously, Sphinx there, GI Combat, the Flying Mustang, lots of great use of like greens there. I just think beautiful. The colouring is just superb all the way through this. Now, you might not like these stories. It's like the science fiction one. It's like the Western one. If you don't particularly like Westerns, you don't particularly like science fiction ones, you may not like these stories. But I think Black Hawk sort of matches those fantasy ones. Lots of fantasy stories where that's about the only place where you've really got that sort of fantasy element. But you've got a whole mixture of different stories from mainly like Second World War, obviously, maybe the Korean and those sort of things. Can't say exactly which stories are which, but you've got here Diary of a Tin Pot. That's sort of just a very, very basic story where you've got the start with the obviously helmet, and you've got obviously when it's the multiple, and then obviously stuck on a person, and then what happens with that steel helmet. You just brilliant. Just absolutely, just great little stories. And that's what I like about a lot of these ones. They're just great stories where you've got a whole range of stories from a basic thing like a dog, just a simple dog. And near enough, you can imagine they had a long list on the wall where they would go through, let's do a story, dog. There's going to be one with a cat. Let's have a cat story. One with a helmet, one with a gun. Maybe there's something else, a ring or something. There's a whole range of different stories like that. And then you've got lots of, again, great art all the way to postcard war, probably a set, all those sort of things. Postcards are one of the worst ones, I think, in war films. Whenever a character says, I'm just writing a postcard to me mum or something, I think, no, don't say it. But anyway, that is going through here, presenting DC finest stories. And they are. I think this is 1957. They're just great. Now, of course, maybe if you're looking at it saying, oh, I don't like any stories before 1990, 1980s, whatever, and that's fine. But I think these stories definitely should not be ignored. And you can see, like, there, 1957, that's what it's going for. One bit, just like that. So there will be, I hope, next year, whenever they announce another one. And obviously, they're going to probably do one a year. They do one a year for the next 20 years. Let's hope that's the case. We'll get 20 volumes of these. Will that cover all of the war books? Maybe, because, of course, when you go back into the sort of like 70s and 60s, maybe the war stories, they started to thin out. That's just the way it was. And you can see here's the stories here, and I can just show you there. You can see you've got Black Hawk, you've got Army at War, etc., our fighting forces, and so on. Also, Star Spangled War Stories. What a great time. Star Spangled War Stories. I suppose that came from Star Spangled Kid or something. I don't know. But still, this is a great one. But I'm just going to, before I finish off, I've got this, and I'll probably knock the camera, so if the camera starts moving, that's the reason. Of course, this is an absolute classic. It's a bit too big actually to show on the screen. But you've got here, of course, the Two-Fisted Tales. If you're really looking for some classic war stories, I think that you can't go far wrong with these either. So Two-Fisted Tales is another one that's definitely worth checking out. This is an absolutely huge volume. But of course, you can get the Fantagraphics series, you can get but I think this, and also Dark Horse, of course, you got this. I think this just series is probably the best. The Russ Cochrane series, as far as I'm concerned, are the best unique set. So I'm just going to move that out of the way and put that over there. And now I've got one from an early one. Now, I couldn't find my Black Hawk. I'm certain I got a Black Hawk. Maybe I'm just imagining it. But I got the Showcase, Army at War. This one doesn't replace the one we've just got. So if you come into that thinking, oh, I've got the stories already. No, this one is from, believe 1953. And this, again, exactly the same as the other one. You've got here lots and lots of great stories. Brilliant. But these ones are from 1952, 53. And that's what I'm thinking. Obviously, these war stories do exist, obviously, earlier. Again, obviously, the Korean War, obviously, First World War, the Killer's Sub, etc. All these sort of stories. I think they're just great. Just brilliant. This is a wonderful... I think this was $4.99. I bought this in Forbidden Planet up in London. Just a brilliant, brilliant book. But unfortunately, I don't know if they did any more. That's obviously volume 1. Whether there was a volume 2, volume 3, I don't think there was. So, which is a pity. But I hope that the new war one definitely does get one. And hopefully more genre ones as well. Crime. There should be a crime one. There definitely should be a love or romance. I don't know what they call it. Maybe a teen one. Maybe film is a possible another genre one, though probably would be fraught with various issues for licensing. So I don't know if that will ever happen. I would love to see those Bob Hope ones. Not maybe for everyone, but I think they're still good. And you can always, of course, get the original. But I've got here an All-American War. Now, I don't know when this actually was, I can just about make it out. This is issue 17, but I can't, for some weird reason, I didn't put the year. Obviously, I've lost the cover. I got this as a coverless anyway. So you can see the Frogman's Secret. It might even be in the actual book. You can see the colours, obviously, here. And this is obviously a very poor quality copy. But for me, I'm happy with poor quality ones. I have no problem with this. And you can see here. Now, one they're not included in the book, which I would love if they'd included those. I didn't see any of these. And that's a miss. I don't know why they didn't. But again, maybe there is license reasons. Maybe these weren't ones that they had access to. Whoops. Maybe that's the problem. So, and also this one, Private Pete. I didn't see Private Pete. Maybe again, they didn't have the rights to. I don't know the reason. But of course, you had these stories. And you had here, Khaki Yaks. Now, another set of stories again, sort of missed off. Obviously, you don't expect these ones because these are the bubblegum ones. So that would be weird. They're not even war ones. So, but you got those stories, of course, the All-American Men of War. I always say at war, of war. But you can see DC. I love that one. Very good. I haven't got many, actually. Of course, you got here, this one is from someone I do not know the company of. I probably think it's one of the, let's see, it is from Stanmore Publications. And they produce same sort of thing. It was around about the same sort of time. Losing my voice, my apologies. Then I've got here 1953. So this is a 1953 one. And you can see, again, the great bit of artwork here. Again, short stories, exactly the same, this Bunker Hill. But of course, in this case, you've got a few stories that are 1775. Now, I guess there were many war ones that you got that were set in that period. I think it's fascinating when they've got those ones. Roman ones, obviously Civil War, and obviously American War of Independence. All those sort of ones are absolutely great to include. Now, another book if you're interested in the war ones, and of course it's loads. DC did bring out a lovely war collection. Unfortunately, I haven't got that anymore, so I can't show it to you. But there was a DC war thing that you could check out, and that's got lots of stories all the way through, probably 50s, 60s, 70s, etc. But you've also got this, Artists at War, and you can see the stories here. You can obviously see modern day ones. You've got there Foxhole, you've got various stories. Nam, obviously that was Marvel. You've got here Charlton ones. You've also got, of course, going to Sergeant Fury. You've got the EC, of course, classic EC ones. Blazing Combat, that's another one that's a real amazing set. Only 4 comics, really worth checking out. And you, of course, got Enemy Ace. And again, I guess we will get those. Whether we get these as independent, separate stories, I do not know whether they'll be included, because you see our Army at War, they've got those there, Two-Fisted Annual, and again you've got the Crypto, which is not, and then you of course got the military comics, which were the Black Hawk ones. Black Hawk, and I guess they were probably Air Fighter 3. I don't know which ones, obviously DC have got the rights to, so maybe there were other things, but at some point they've got to sort of say, these are not perhaps the finest, they're not going to include everything, because if they did, they would be running the series forever. And as much as I would love that, I imagine that it would have, maybe not everyone would be buying them. And this is another one that's worth checking out. If you can get, it's the Fantagraphic series. These ones I think are brilliant. Now, this one is obviously a bit earlier, part of a different separate series, Atlas at War, but it's got loads of great war stories. Again, they were all very much similar sort of thing. Some classics in here as well, just the same. Like in that War one, the DC one, you've got lots of this one, No Way Out, all these sort of great art. I don't know who the artist is, but sometimes Gene Colan, all those sort of people. You can see the list here, Gene Colan. The War comics definitely should be checked out because they are just great. I say there's the volumes, there's loads of the Fantagraphics series, the Atlas Comics Library, but this one is where it all sort of started, Atlas at War. So that is the War comic. Will you be getting that one, the War one? I think it's just great. I think it's definitely worth checking out. And obviously, have you got any other ones I've actually shown be really interesting to know what sort of thing. And I'm just moving the book so I can get back the other one. It's the way, moving around. But here it is again. So this one, the War one, DC Finest, I think probably this is up there with the best. For me, I just love these stories. Have I read every single story? No, because obviously I've been going through it and reading them, and I just think they're great. But it's one of these books you can dip into. That's why I look at all these genre books. You don't have to read them in order particularly. There's not like you know what, I must read that one first before the next one. Doesn't matter. You can just read through it, and you can go to the Black Hawk, say, read those separate, and then maybe just looking at the Joe Kubert stuff. All those sort of things. So there's a whole range of different things in this DC Finest, which I think is just great. Again, will you be getting this? Have you got any plans to get this? Also, of course, there's the Western one coming up, hopefully fairly soon, not far off now, and also many other ones, of course, team-ups, etc. So, hope you found this of interest and use, and check out the book. Bye.